So I will call us to order. And first of all, I would just like to acknowledge the work of the SD board last Tuesday night in getting our budget passed. So huge accomplishment. There's a lot of healthy discussion. I thought it was a really good night. I'd also like to formally welcome our new board members, Brian Reamer and Colleen Savage. And now the first order of business for tonight is I will take nominations for board chair of the SD school board.
I'd like to nominate Deborah Stanford.
So I'm going to nominate. Second.
We have a second. Are there other nominations for board chair? Those in favor of Deborah Stanford to take over as board chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Deborah, congratulations. And I turn to you.
Wow. That's all I've got to say. Wow. This is, I'm not sure what the applause is about. My opening remarks are short. We are in this together. I thank you for this vote of confidence. My thoughts. I am one board member in a group of 10 board members. And since the 10 cannot have their 10 voices speaking at the same time, or maybe they can, but as chair, I'm the voice that reports the will of the board to the public. And again, I am one of 10 board members. We are in this together. Thank you. For now, the briefest of welcomes to Colleen Savage from Brattleboro, welcome, and Brian Reamer from Guilford. So more to follow. Thank you. Glad you're with us. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome. Congratulations.
Again, thank you. So I'd like to open the floor up to nominations for the board vice chair.
I would like to put myself forward for the vice chair position.
Okay. Any nominations, any other nominations, please?
I'd like to nominate Tim Price.
Okay, so nominations for vice chair, Kim and Ruby. Are there any other nominations for this position? So I will begin by opening it up to a voice vote. I'm not sure that's really appropriate at this point, but let's try that. Okay. So all of those, can I have all of the ayes in favor of Ruby McAdoo as vice chair?
Aye.
Okay. And can I have any nays for Ruby? Sorry, any nays? Okay. And all those in favor of Kim Price as vice chair? Ayes, please. Okay. So at this point, I'm going to do, is it appropriate? Please tell me to do a roll call vote. I don't need to do a roll call vote. Okay. So any nays for Kim? All right. And once again, a show of hands, please. I think that might be more appropriate. All right. So a show of hands in favor of Kim. Can I see a show of hands in favor of Kim? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. So I count 6. And so congratulations, Kim, as vice chair. Okay.
Congratulations, Kim.
The floor is now open for nominations for the election of board clerk. Nominations, please.
I would take pleasure in nominating Matt Shibley as clerk.
Matt, thank you. And I presume if someone wants to decline a nomination, they're going to open their mouth and say it. I don't have to sort of invite that, I hope. So Matt has his hand up. Yes, Matt.
I appreciate the nomination. A word of caution that clerking is not my strong suit. And I would humbly request of the board that if it is the will of the board that I be placed in that position, that I receive some support in some training that's upcoming this week. The training is, I believe, $86 that I would ask the board to reimburse me so that I might serve the board appropriately, knowing that this is an area of growth for me.
I'll chip in $5.
I'd like to make a motion.
Just wait one second. Tim, I think you just spoke out of turn. So let's, so that we don't have, okay, is that good? Okay, let's make sure they're not multiple voices speaking at the same time. Thank you very much. All right, Sean.
I make a motion that Matt should be reimbursed for the position of clerk. And I'm not sure where the training takes place, but I think the reimbursement should be made.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. There is, well, I presume the motion is substantiated by this agenda. So motion on the floor. We don't need to second it. Any discussion? All right, thank you. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed or abstentions? Why? I'm sorry. I allow you to have the vote that you have without questioning it. Sorry,
It's all good.
yes. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Okay, thank you. Now, back to nominations on the floor for board clerk. Are there any other nominations for clerk? All right. Thank you. All those in favor of Matt Shibley as board clerk, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays or abstentions? All right, thank you. Congratulations, Matt. Thank you. Okay. We are now moving forward to the representative voting members assigned to the SU. And it's one voting member from each of the 4 towns that we represent. So the first town being Brattleboro. Nominations for the voting member to the SU. Nominations, please. Matt.
I'd like to nominate Tim Maciel for the board.
Okay. Are there other nominations for the Brattleboro representative to the SU? Any other nominations? Okay, thank you very much. All those in favor of Tim Maciel as the voting board member from Brattleboro assigned to the SU? All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed or abstentions? Okay. We're moving on. Congratulations, Tim. We're moving on to the representative from the town of Dummerston. Nominations, please. Eva.
Nominate Deborah Sanford for that.
Okay, are there any other nominations out of Dummerston?
What's that? I'm sorry, we missed it.
Eva nominated Deborah.
Oh. I second it.
Are there any other nominations? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? All right, congratulations, Deborah. Nominations for a representative out of the town of Guilford. Brian. Sean Murphy. Are there any other nominations out of the town of Guilford as a voting member on the SU? Any other nominations?
I'll nominate Brian.
Thank you, Tim. All right, Brian. And I assume both of you accept the nomination.
I don't think I do.
You don't think so?
No, I don't accept. I'd rather focus on some other things before I step into that role.
Thank you, Brian.
Wise choice.
So we are standing with Sean Murphy. All those in favor of Sean Murphy as the voting member to the SU, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions or negatives? Congratulations, Sean. And the final town is Putney. And nominations for a Putney rep to the SU. Ruben,
I nominate Ann Beacon.
are there any other nominations? Thank you. All those in favor of Ann Beacon as the voting rep to the SU, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? All right, so at this point, in terms of going to the SU, we have Tim, Deborah, Sean, and Ann. Thank you very much. Going down the agenda.
And just share,
Oh, yes.
Carrie Beebe will be, not Carrie Beebe, Carrie Amadon will be the representative from Burke.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Let's open up discussion having to do with when we meet, the days, and what time of day we meet. So, discussion. Currently, we are meeting, I believe, the second and the fourth Tuesday of a given month. Do we want to stay with that? At 6 p.m. Yes.
Yes, my preference would be to stay with that
Mhm,
as exists.
mhm. Other comment? Probably, yes. Eva.
I do have one comment in regards to the length of time about the meetings. I did email all of the board members about that I feel that the board meetings are too long. And it's not sustainable, it's not tenable for families and for even people who don't have families to go to. The last board meeting, people went home at midnight. And I'd like for us to really think about how long these meetings are. I feel like 2 hours to 2.5 hours, I think, is enough time to get everything done. So I'd like to take that into consideration as we move forward to the new year.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We are in this together as we build agendas, as we think about when we come together for executive sessions, whether we may want to pick another evening in a given week, so we're not having critical discussions at 10 o'clock at night. I think we are all in agreement concerning that. Thank you, Eva. Matt, you had your hand up.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to echo Eva's statements. I think it's important for us to prioritize and be really judicious about how we're spending our time. And I hope that the board can consider ways of increasing our efficiency together.
Thank you. Great. So going back to the issue that I raised about meeting times, meeting days, as well as time, meaning 6 p.m. at night. Do we want to change it? Do we want to stand firm? I would voice the opinion that we hold on to the schedule that we have. It's on the books, the community knows it, we know it, and if we change it, we're going to get into trouble at this point, I think, administrators as well as board members and their lives. All right, I see nods. Kim?
No, I was just going to say, I think it's a great time. It gives people with children time to do some early dinners, get childcare situated, and then get to meetings.
Oh, Tim.
Kim just reminded me, a perk that not everybody knows about being a board member is if you have to pay for childcare, the board will reimburse you for that. Now you know.
Okay. All right.
Well, now I know, I guess, after you.
Okay, thank you. We will stay with the second and the fourth Tuesday at 6 p.m. at night, and we will do our very best to keep the meetings on target. The next item on the agenda, which is not down here, but I want to address it before we go to committee assignments, is the issue of Robert's rules. Last year, we decided on Robert's rules for small boards and open for discussion. Small boards versus large boards. Large boards has a formality to it. And just to summarize what Christina Naylor said last year at last year's meeting, small boards enables us to speak more informally, sort of across the table and having a conversation. It enables the board chair to make a motion, to comment as well as to vote. Sean, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I know this won't be popular, but I would prefer to go with Robert's rules for large boards. I think the formality is, in some respects, what past boards have needed to sort of define every space, every comment. So anyway, that's just my feeling.
Have a comment? Yeah.
I do like the formality of for the larger board, but I liked not the intimacy, but the conversations we had, seeing we had it as a small board. And I think that's important because I also think it's important that every voice can be heard and vote on. And I think that's important that the chair should be able to have a voice and vote when they want to.
Right.
Can you say more about the difference between the two and give some examples?
Yeah.
This is a little bit helpful, but a little more concrete example.
Okay, so I'm going to open that up to other board members to chime in on that, the difference between large and small boards, if you will. We've all lived with it. Paul.
Two critical differences of which I'm aware. One is any motion does not require a second. And the other is the chair can speak to the motion. Generally speaking, in Robert's Rules of Order, the chair reserves discussion unless there's a tie needs to be broken or something like that.
So he's making the distinction between small and large. Small, the chair can speak to an issue and does not vote under large boards.
And there's
unless there's a tie. Sorry, Paul.
Also less standing up and sitting.
Oh, yes, there is that formality of standing and sitting. However, even when we functioned as a large board, my first year on the board, we did not stand and sit. But if we're going to go with Robert's rules for large boards, there is that stipulation. I saw another hand. Ruby. Yeah.
I was essentially going to say that's another distinction. I feel like as we practiced it, or as this board practiced it, it turned into a much more clear, acknowledgement of someone when they were to speak. So now if someone breaks in, it's, they're guided gently back to decorum, but it's not, that formality is not there. My opinion is that Robert's rules for small boards allows us to be more nimble. But I do think that we have a decision that we could make whether or not we choose to have second, if that is something in terms of the formality piece, we could bring that back. And we could also adopt as part of our practices a reminder to address the chair, which I think is something that is much more kind of ironclad in the formal Robert's rules, but there's no reason we can't practice that.
So it gets, I see a hand and I will call in a minute. When we worked under Robert's rules for large boards, we had an informality going, and not every comment addressed the chair directly. So I do know with Robert's rules for small boards, we can tweak it. We can play with it. I sort of like the idea of a second. It gives a notion of how someone feels about a motion before it opens up for discussion. So throwing that out. Christina, I see your hand up.
I like the direction of trying to choose what works for the board. The small boards allow informal discussion without a motion, which is very helpful. If you want to go off key and not have a vote, not have a motion that's not warned, but you can have an informal discussion. And the small boards allows the chair to speak to the motion without having to step away from the chair. So in a board of 10, losing one person's voice, who is the chair, is I think a negative.
Other comment, please, John.
Yes, I really like all these suggestions. I was really sorry when the seconds was given up after decades of hearing seconds. It's nice to have the second. I know I made a motion one time, no second, so why bother to discuss, you know? So I'd be very much in favor of that. And the other thing that has concerned me in previous meetings in the not too distant past is there's been a lot of conversation between board members as a discussion during the board meetings. And that's the other reason that but I think that could be something that Robert's rules for small boards encompassed also.
I appreciate what you're saying. And there have been board meetings where I've noticed a ping pong match going on between two people without other voices interplaying. And I think we need to go to a norm, perhaps, where the individual who's spoken waits until everyone in the group on the board has had a chance to speak, if they so desire, before it wraps around to that same given speaker. I think that's an issue for the chair to monitor and be careful about, as well, since we're talking about this, how long someone speaks. Tim.
For all the reasons that have been stated, I'm for a small board. Regarding the minutes, I think small board or large board, we haven't been following Robert's rules strictly at all in how the minutes are taken. For example, Robert says that the minutes reflect the business of the board, and there's no need to record what an outside presenter presents. But our minutes, you'll see, include long summaries of presentations. I think in our retreat, Christina said that maybe one of our goals should be cutting down the length of the minutes. 15, 16-page minutes are really unnecessary. So I just would urge us to, if we go with small board or large board, that we rethink how minutes are taken. And also, for the second, you notice that the annual meeting, the facilitator who called for a second, not asking for the name. There's this little game that we play, who made the second. If you hear a second, it's made. It's not necessary to put it in the minutes.
And I'd like to not talk about the minutes right now. I'd like to pull that out of this discussion for now and just delay it a little bit, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Other comment? Yes, Anne.
I do think small boards are more nimble. I want your voice to be heard. I want you to vote. But I think we could get crazy and add the second back in. If that's what we'd like to do, if everyone would be more
I'm
comfortable.
sorry,
with
I
that.
can't hear you.
I said, I think we could get crazy and put the second back in and still stay with small boards.
So, how do we feel about staying with small boards for now, with some tweaking of it? And we can continue this discussion as we practice what we do. So can I see a show of hands for small boards, please? Okay. We are going to go with small boards for now, and we'll tweak it as we go along. All right. I definitely want to add, I like the second. It sort of feels a bit reassuring on a motion. So for now, let's bring that in as well. Ruby.
This is also not formally on the agenda, but I just want to flag that we, as a board, established some meeting norms last year.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good idea for us to pull those out and review them and, not act on them tonight necessarily, but consider them at a future meeting.
Yeah, we have a package with the meeting norms in there that we worked out last year. Yeah, so I'll as we get to board orientation, we can go back to that. All right. So our departing chair, Kelly, sent an email asking everyone to consider board subcommittees as well as leadership councils. And so I'd like to track through the board subcommittees just so that we come out of the gate running. And since that's my point of view, I'm going to go out of order and I'm going to go to Policy and Amendment Committee. And I'm going to add myself to that grouping. Anyone else for Policy and Amendment Committees? I've got Anne. Thank you very much, Anne. Policy and Amendment Committee. I've got Tim. Thank you very much, Tim. Anyone else right now? And let me just say, for the sake of everyone who's here, as a reminder, this is flexible. This is not cast in stone. You are not committing to something for a full year. And if you want to shift and move, just alert the chair what you're doing so that the SU website can reflect committee voting board members correctly. Kim.
And also, it's if you're not sure of a committee, you can attend a committee, and most of them are remote as well, so you can see what the committee's like. And because I know it's probably very daunting to sign up for committee tonight when you're not sure what they are, but you can attend them and see what they're like.
And as you attend, whether you're a voting board member or not, you're not creating a problem with quorum in terms of numbers. The quorum only counts for those who are voting board members on the committee. But if an entire board wants to attend a committee, so be it. That's fine. That's not in violation of quorum. All right. The Personnel Committee, whose mission is to manage and review personnel matters, review and approve 1% requests, participate in supervisory union negotiations and other personnel matters as required. So, Personnel Committee. All right, to my right, I see Anne's hand. I see Colleen, Matt, and Kim. Okay, we've got 4 board members on that. Thank you. All right.
Could you, sorry,
Yes.
could you just give me a little bit information about some negotiations about contracts in the personnel?
That would be a change in how we do business.
Just everybody just project your voices
Yeah,
out
sorry.
across the room, please.
In the past, board members have not participated actively in the negotiations. The personnel committee is there to add any support that administration might need, but mostly we approve 1% requests and hire people in the summer when the board isn't meeting. That is the primary mission of the personnel committee. This board can change that remit, but that's where it stands right now.
Could you just reread that?
Just,
Sorry, could
yeah.
you just reread that part about negotiations or contracts?
I probably shouldn't.
I'm not sure what
yeah,
that.
Nor am I. And I think it raises an interesting point that voting board members should take a look at the mission statement of a subcommittee and bring it up to date.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm reluctant to read it again only because it's not cast in stone. So as the mission as written, manage and review personnel matters, review and approve 1% requests, participate in supervisory union negotiations and other personnel matters as required. Okay. Tim, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I think that this warrants a discussion by the full board very soon at a regular board meeting. The issue about negotiating contracts.
Okay, all right.
Because it's one of our statutory responsibilities as a board. It's one of our main statutory responsibilities.
Ruby.
And just, I'm looking on the website, that's a committee that has an SU representative as well. Is that correct?
Okay. Finance Committee. The Finance Committee will review and recommend warrants, the capital plan, and the annual budget as determined by the full board. Finance Committee. And just to let you know, the Finance Committee goes into heavy work mode, October, November, December, January. I would say those are the prime months. Okay, so Kim, are you volunteering for this? You are. Thank you very much. Sean.
Yes, and I would just make a comment if I could. This year, the intense work didn't end until March 19th.
Yeah. It's been a blast. It's been very, very exciting as someone who was on the committee this past year. Ruby.
I would be interested in serving on the committee, and I've communicated this to some committee members. I would be looking for the committee to consider changing the time because the time period of 5 o'clock is too challenging for my family, but I would be interested in the committee.
And I do think that as every subcommittee has its initial meeting, there should be a full reorganization of the entire committee. That's where we are at this point in the year. Any other members on the Finance Committee? Okay, thank you. So that's how it stands right now. Sean, Kim, and Ruby. Social Justice Committee, formerly known as the Board's Diversity and Equity Committee. Mission: foster learning environments in which all members of the school community are safe, feel valued, and are appreciated, as well as promote policies and procedures that value equity and diversity in our schools. Social Justice Committee, Eva Nolan. Okay, thank you. Colleen, thank you. Sean Murphy, thank you. And Tim. Thank you very much. All right, Sean, Eva, Colleen, and Tim. Thank you. And just again, in terms of quorum, with a board of 10, we can have 5 voting board members on a committee. Okay, 6 is taboo. Okay, open meeting law governs us. I remember being told at one point, it's a very bad thing to violate open meeting law. There is no punishment. But it's a very bad thing. Yes, Tim.
I would just like to warn everybody that past social justice and equity committees have been meeting at 10 o'clock in the morning on what days? Thursdays?
Thursday.
Yeah. Doesn't mean we have to continue that, but
On Zoom. It's the first Thursday of the month. Yeah. Again, that is subject to change based upon everyone who's coming together to discuss these issues. The next committee is Programmatic and Performance Equity Committee. The mission is provide a space for community engagement around equity and performance and develop recommendations with administration and staff to increase equity and performance throughout the district. Volunteers to be on this committee. Ruby, thank you. Brian? Kim? All right, Brian, Ruby, and Kim.
What days was that meeting happening?
We historically have not had a consistent meetings cycle. We kind of had a goal of it every month, but we didn't establish one. So I think the world's our oyster. I don't think there's a set time yet.
I'd like to join that with them.
All right, programmatic. Eva. Okay, Brian, Eva, Ruby, and Kim. Thank you. And then the final committee that has been functioning is the Communications Council. Mission, increase public engagement with the board's work through effective communications. Ruby. Matt. Okay.
Is it two? So
And Sean. So Ruby, Matt, and Sean, thank you very much. And thank you, Ruby, for getting all of these notices onto social media so that we see them. Thank you. As well as that timely reminder, they've been coming from every direction that tonight we are meeting at Academy and we are all here. All right, that takes care of board subcommittees. And again, there's flexibility. Let's move it around. Leadership councils. Leadership councils. Again, movement is a good thing. Ruby.
I have been serving on the Putney Central School Leadership Council and also for EES Policy Council. And this year I'd like to serve on a different leadership council, just to give it a try and see what other communities are like. I'll probably will still show up to PCS because my kids are there and it's my community. But I am interested in serving on another one. I think possibly BOHS might be a good kind of try. But I also am open to any switcheroos if anybody wants to do some exchanging. But PCS will be up for grabs. And I would like to go back to having one because I think the chair is planning on serving on a leadership council. But if not, I'm happy to take a second.
So since the chair has just been mentioned, the chair is committed to staying with the Dummerston School Leadership Council. So I'm going to put my name down for that. And then I'm going to go, is there discussion about what we're doing? So I'm going to go to Ruby positioning for BUHS. Is there anyone else interested in BUHS that, Tim?
yeah, may I suggest that we hear people's preferences for changing and then decide who goes where. So we hear what options there are.
Absolutely.
And I would like to say that it's been my honor and pleasure to serve for the last 2 years at BUHS. But change is good. So I would be open to another school.
Discussion about change. About change, discussion about sort of shifting gears right now and are we comfortable with that? Okay.
I'd like to stay with the Career Center, but I would be delighted if somebody else would start coming to the meetings so they could learn more. It's a really different animal than the rest of our schools. So
I think there is, and I just want to pick up on what Ann just said. I think there is terrific value in and seeing what other schools are doing, what other leadership councils are doing. As an example, make sure my phone is off. As an example, Tim came to the Dummerston Leadership Council. Tim and I have been at BAMS, and I was the BAMS rep a year ago. So, okay. BUHS, I'm putting Ruby down for BUHS.
Well,
It's an option, yeah.
I'm sorry.
as an option before we hear all the options.
So I was opening it up for discussion. So there's a pause here. It's open for discussion. And in what way do you recommend we craft this discussion, Tim?
That's a good question because none of us, have rights to a school. None of us own our representation to a particular place. But it's good to mix it around. So I'd like to know, so far, all I'm hearing is that Ruby and I are open to change. So it would be logical that we just switch. But I live in Brattleboro. I would like to, someplace closer if possible. So, Kim?
I'm happy to change. I've enjoyed BAMS, but I'm happy to go to Putney.
Oh, then I'd be happy to go to BAMS.
I've always felt that we should be at other schools than just in our towns. So I'm happy to do Putney if nobody else wants.
Okay, Kim, I'm putting you down for Putney. And I'm going back to Tim as we have this discussion.
Yeah, I'm good with BAMS.
You're good with BAMS. Okay, Brattleboro Middle School, Tim. Brian, I'm sorry, Matt.
I too would like to join, but not as the official rep for BAMS, but I'm hoping to join, to attend BAMS leadership councils when I can.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Eva.
I'd like to stay with Oak Grove.
Mm-hmm.
It's starting up again. It's starting up, and we're meeting in person on Thursdays, and we're able to develop a schedule that really works. And I feel like I would love to have this year with them, and it's a really special school. So I'm really they seem welcome to it. So I'd like to stay with that, and I'd also like to know about the EES, like what days do they meet?
Sorry, I missed.
For the EES, what days do they meet?
I'm gonna I think Deb would know better than me.
On the fourth Friday of the month at noon, and we're doing hybrid.
Fourth Friday of the month, okay. I'd be welcome to doing that if I could do that one in Zoom.
Okay. And did you say you were doing EES as well?
No, the Career Center.
You're the Career Center. Okay. EES, Eva Nolan. Okay.
But I could not make that one in person. So if that's okay, if somebody else, I don't know if that's, if people want to, if somebody can get there in person.
No, we're doing hybrid, so you can do.
Okay.
Zoom. Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, Tim.
What school are you at, Matt?
Green Street, and I would like to keep Green Street.
Oh, okay.
My heart's there.
Okay.
Got it, Green Street.
Then I prefer Green Street.
You know what? In keeping with board norms of circling round until everyone has had a chance to speak. We're moving on. All right. Ruby.
I just wanted to acknowledge that I do think, I remember this last year feeling a little bit like the newest people who have just joined the board are at a little bit of a disadvantage. And so it feels to me like Academy and Guilford are still, available. I don't know. And I'm not sure. And EES is one where, there are 10 spots and there are 10 of us. So I think there's value to having a physical school be your first run. So I'm just calling that out. If you have any questions, I think it's a good moment.
Yes, it's difficult being new, yes, and hearing all of this prior knowledge that some of us have. Colleen, you were about to put your hand up?
I'd be happy doing Academy or the early education services.
Okay.
Either one of those would be
Okay. Mhm.
good for me.
Brian?
I'm happy with Guilford, and if there's a question you don't end up with Academy, I'd be happy going there as well. So either way is fine for me.
Okay, so
Flexible with that.
Colleen for Academy, and I just heard Brian as a backup for Academy. Did I just hear you say that?
Yes, if that doesn't work out, and if Colleen just wants to do the early,
Right. Mhm. Okay, and Colleen. Okay. And that leaves on my list I think every school is covered at this point. Okay, that's great. Thank you. Robin, yes. Hi,
Hi,
Robin.
guys.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to offer a suggestion for the leadership councils, because you were mentioning a backup. And I know that there's always a time when, like, once in a while, someone has a conflict on the night of their leadership council that they're the delegate to. And I would love to see board members reach out to a different board member and say, hey, I can't make it to the Academy school meeting tonight. Could you go instead of me? And sometimes it won't work out because the reason for the conflict is that the board is meeting on that night. So it's not always able to fix every problem, but I think that would be a great practice to start doing.
I think that would be great as well. Right, that flexibility, yeah. And we can begin the process by visiting schools that with convenience as we have the time, right? Thank you, Robin. Thank you. All right, that takes care of that for now. Next item is the
Deborah?
board orientation. Yes.
Could I ask one question?
Oh, absolutely.
Are you going to will you send an email, or will it be codified in the minutes what the assignments are, or?
I think it'll be codified in the minutes, if that's okay with you, Tracy. Yeah.
Is it that Eva's doing the two?
I have Eva, and correct me if I'm wrong, I have Eva down for Oak Grove and EES. Okay, and so as it comes through in the minutes, if there's movement post the minutes, that's fine. We'll take it up at the next board meeting. Or rather, as people read the minutes, please shoot me an email that something's incorrect. Okay, right. Eva?
I do have
everybody has to project out.
I have an admin suggestion. It would be great if we could have like a Google document of all the schedules. If there's any updates in regards to the changing of the hours, and if there could be like a Zoom link or something that is included. And also,
before you go to the also, if you can just hold your thought, say that one more time, please. I just want to make sure, because you said it's an admin suggestion, and I just want to make sure what I'm hearing.
Yeah, well, not like an admin suggestion, like necessarily that it has to go to Mo, but whoever's best fit to do it. It would be great if we could have a Google document of all the hours that the committees take place, because I know that sometimes they fluctuate. Sometimes people don't meet, you know, they don't meet for a couple months, and all of a sudden they meet up, and we don't know, oh, there was a meeting that happened on Monday. So if there could be a living document of the hours of all the committees, and I'd like to add the leadership council meetings as well. Those usually don't change, but it would be nice to kind of see all of that in one place.
Yes, Mark.
Yeah, I think the best way to accommodate that and to continue to work towards accommodating that is using the Google Calendar aspect of our Google email accounts. So I know we've been working at trying to get better at hosting all of these events on Google Calendar, but I think that's the easiest, most efficient way to stay on top of things.
I don't know that we all have access to, we do. Okay, there we go. Okay, nodding. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Ruby. I think that's great. Just so that we don't have to search to find out when the next meeting is going to take place. Ruby.
So the Communications Council, this is just to let you know of a few options, and one of them kind of dovetails with what Mark said. The Communications Council, in conjunction with Mo and Barb before her, there are email lists that you can get on that will alert you to everyone. I think the board is on all of the lists, but that's why they come into our inboxes. And probably a little over a year ago, as in my role on the Communications Council of posting things on social media, when I would post on social media, I would actually place the event in our WSESD board calendar. And then I stopped doing that because absolutely no one knew about it or followed it, and we didn't, so it wasn't useful. But I would be happy to continue to do that. The thing we would just have to be very clear about is, at this point in time, the WSESD board Google Calendar is really just our calendar. It's not a public facing calendar. It could be, it's not like there's private information, but we can certainly, set up a system where we invite people to add that calendar to your personal calendar, and then, just update it, if that's helpful.
To that,
Yes.
I think that's a great idea, and I think what Mark's ideas about a Google Calendar is fantastic. It would be great if there could be, sometimes there's like sub calendars, so board calendar. Sometimes and he'd set the permissions for us to see. So there could be like a public one, and there could be one that's not public. I think the thing with the emails is, as much as I try my hardest to stay on top of emails, if I literally don't check my email for 4 days, it's like, and sometimes I get emails and they just disappear, and I'm just searching. So someone's like, I sent an email, and I'm searching this enclave of 100. I mean, it's massive how many emails I don't know what your guys' email situation is, but
I can't, I don't know how you can go 4 days without checking. I would be buried. And the times when I have backstroked out of board business because I need a little space, wow, it really piles up very quickly. And I see every administrator in this room nodding their heads. Yes. So just to let you know, I think Kelly was with me. We had a meeting with Mo about the Google Calendar. And Mo was demonstrating how she can assign notes to an event, and you click on the event and you see the notes, color-coded, but you have to remember to color-code it and do it in that way. I was asking for a calendar, almost like the foils that existed in the biology textbooks of years past. the skeletal structure, the muscles, the veins, you overlay everything. I would love a calendar where I can click on it and see only board business issues. We can't do that right now. And we have a discussion about meeting with Gary and meeting with Paul as an idea man to see what the software can and cannot do and ways to address some of the issues, which perhaps cannot be addressed. But so we have that in motion. It's just been a lot of stuff going on and a lot of meetings. So that's on the to-do list. I hear something that Eva is saying about wanting to break out all of the leadership councils in one document, all of the subcommittees in one document. So you can actually see that without the complication of everything. So let's see what we can do to accommodate that. Okay. I know that would be helpful for me as well. If there is no other discussion on this point, I would like to move on to board orientation. And yes, Ruby.
There's one thing I wanted to raise that I kind of forgot during the committee assignments.
Yes.
I just wanted to acknowledge that I feel like I don't have a good grasp on exactly what they are, but there are a handful, a small number of committees that are not subcommittees of the board, but to which a board member is assigned or lent. I think there's the Social Justice Committee of the district. There
has not been anyone assigned to that committee since merger. Robin and I had been going before and we kept going.
Right. So, but that's an example of one that if there were other board members who were interested in that, that could be something that I just feel like if we had a clearer picture of what opportunities there are. I know that there's the board representative to the student
advisory committee.
I am serving on a farm to school team that is acting in the summer. And I just don't know what other ones there are, but they don't hold a space in terms of that assignment. But I would hate for someone on this board to have an interest in it and not feel empowered to express that or ask to be a part of it.
Or even know that it exists.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yes, Matt.
Yeah, I echo that. And I would just like to query Mark if there were opportunities or if the administration needed support from the board to invite that.
Yeah, appreciate the opportunity for the invite. I'm not aware, sitting in this moment, of other committees that have that tradition, aside from hiring committees, which we established a new policy D1 this year. So.
All right, we have that. We definitely have that highlighted. And
I'd like to throw something out there.
Yes,
and I don't know. I'd like for the book. Mark got us the governance book, and it's fantastic. And I feel like it could be a really great way for the board to bond and collaborate and bring Mark in for us to all talk, including, just other admin. I just find there's just so many times I read it, the chapter, and I'd love to have like a conversation with admin, but because of the formality of how everything's set up, there's just like no chance. So I would love there to be a book club where we could just talk about the book and talk about chapters, even maybe principals could be, just like, but I know everyone's schedules are so busy and it's like, how do you fit another meeting, but I just like to put it out there. If there's a way for us to do it, I would love it.
So I'm going to ask Mark to take that on because there is a backstory to this. So, oh,
Yeah,
good.
so the original concept to start the school year was those books would be distributed and we would reserve time at board meetings to have chapter conversations.
Mhm.
As was spoken to earlier tonight, our work, we got so consumed by such lengthy meetings that there just wasn't room for an additional agenda items. So Deborah, Kelly, Ann, and I kind of made a leadership decision for the board and admin team to put a hold on the expectation that we would formally be addressing the book. But however, just make sure the book is widely distributed and people could read at their own pleasure. And then as we think about this spring and planning for the board admin retreat, collectively, we would start building agenda items that would be formally part of the retreat and potentially board meetings leading up to the retreat based on all the work that we can fit on a reasonable agenda to try to keep it to that 2-hour mark.
In discussion, we realize that it's one thing to ask people to read a book and you read it, you don't read it, or you skim it or however you go through it. It's another thing to have engagement and discussion, small groups, large groups, to actually begin to pull apart items in the book that are critical to our work. There's a reason why we selected that book. So this is definitely going to take place, Eva. Mm-hmm. Matt.
I wonder if there could be opportunity for an asynchronous communication, such as like a Discord server or I forget the name of it. It's not like a chat room, but essentially where people could post ideas and it would be viewable. But I also am cautious about open meeting law in that regard as well, if it wasn't public facing.
Right. And we always have to be cautious about that. Yes. Right.
Some sort of asynchronous modality.
Right. If we're talking about the book, that's one thing. If it veers toward how we're going to apply it to board business, that's for open discussion. Right. So we do have to be careful of that. I did see a hand just now somewhere. Okay. So regarding board orientation. I think this is a great segue. Chapter 4 of the Governance Code, I think, is entitled Onboarding. And that's where we are right now. And one of the mantras out of the VSBA, the Vermont School Board Association, is every time you have one new board member elected, the board is a new board completely. It has to be totally redefined in terms of its personality, its goals, and that's where we are right now. The onboarding chapter 4, I recommend that everyone read at this point, because that's what we're going towards. And in keeping with that chapter, as well as proven practice, I would like to schedule a Zoom meeting, and I'm going to assume it's going to be Zoom, with everyone who has just been elected. And that Zoom session will include the superintendent, and I'm sort of including him without asking him, but it just so that we can chat and do more listening than talking. All right. So I am going to assume that Zoom session will include the board leadership team, and it will include Colleen, Brian, Matt, who is the clerk, Tim, and Ann. And so I really want to include everyone who has just been elected, whether they're an incumbent or not. We are not a quorum at that meeting. So it would not have to be warned. And whatever the agenda is for that meeting will be flexible, and it's for everyone to build that agenda in order to meet the needs of everyone as we come together. And this is just a time to hear what your ideas are and what you want to, what you bring to the board. All right. And so I will send out an invitation and see about timing. Matt?
It might be a quorum by my count if we have Tim, Ann, Colleen, Brian, Deborah.
Oh,
Kim, and
wait a minute.
myself.
Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, maybe I just won't attend. Okay, that won't work. It is a quorum. Oh, thank you.
7.
Okay,
We are in fact allowed to train.
we are allowed to train, and we might be fine with this because it might not be board business per se, but what we bring, what our discussions are and our wish list.
I think if it's a training, it should include the whole board.
So this is just a preliminary meeting. Okay, we'll tweak this, and maybe I will leave out Tim and Ann. Okay, that would be okay with both of you? All right, okay, all right. So we'll keep that on the books for now. Ruby?
You could also just warn that meeting out of caution.
Yes.
And with the expectation that people who aren't necessary to be there are not necessary to be there.
Okay. Okay. Open meeting law. It's a number count, and we have to be very careful with that. Thank you very much, Matt. Sean?
Yeah, my comment was going to be, it sounds like we have a quorum, that's what Matt just pointed out.
Right.
But I also think, to go back to Ruby's idea, having a warm meeting, it might be nice to have whoever wanted to be there, be there. I mean, if you have 7 board members or 6 board members, you might as well have the additional 4. And people could just come and listen, be a fly on the wall.
Thank you very much for these suggestions, everyone. Thank you. Okay. Mhm. We are planning a retreat in April. It's sort of been talked about for a bit. We had a retreat in February, and the follow-up retreat would be in April, and it will be specifically about onboarding, orientation, as well as continuing perhaps to work on some of the things that we were addressing at our February retreat. And that would be the board calendar. So again, we have to be very careful about whether we're doing board business, but a calendar is allowed, right? For that kind of discussion. At the conclusion of this meeting, I'm going to ask Ruby, or right now, to send out a doodle having to do with timeframes in April so we can schedule this. And our moderator will once again be Christina Naylor. Okay? All right.
And Deborah, so can I email with you and Kim?
Yes.
It'd be good to get your schedules and Christina's and have that be the starting point.
Absolutely. We'll definitely do that. Yes. Okay. Thank you. So regarding orientation, the newest board members, Colleen and Brian, we have an orientation manual that was put together last year. He loves it.
It's very helpful. Very helpful.
Okay. A lot of it at this point is out of date. I mean, names change, positions change. However, the essence of it, the statutes that are in there, the verbiage about open meeting law, which rules us, is in there. And just to get familiar with it right now, we are in the process Thank you to Mo Hart and Becca Shepherd in the central office. We are in the process of putting this online. I believe the first tab is online and, oh my God, it looks spectacular with the school colors. So it's really quite beautiful. Anyway, those are for you, Colleen, and you, Brian. And then if every board member would take one, please, and I don't have enough for anyone else, sorry, but it is a reminder of what we do. And thank you, Sean. And Sean, before you go, I have more that goes to that side. Okay, I'll let you make another trip. So this is a compilation from our February retreat. Some of this is the introductory note is written by Christina Naylor. And I have included out of the binder meeting norms, 2 pages of meeting norms. And then we go into open meeting law. Okay, the last few pages are all about open meeting law. So I am distributing this to every board member. I think it's critical. I think we should familiarize, review always. The next handout is, can I pass this down this way? And again, if you would, thank you very much. Includes every policy that we are going to be looking to either present for a first reading, a second reading, or for readoption. And we will do that at the April 9th meeting. I didn't think it was appropriate to do it now because we want everyone to vote on these policies. We have 2 new board members, and I am certainly available to answer any questions. And one thing that we have done in the past has been to perhaps assign a mentor to every new board member so that you have that go-to person or that person can connect with you. So we can certainly have that discussion, and you can let me know who you're comfortable with. Board members, please chime in via email and let me know about that.
Yeah, I would just say it was incredibly helpful when I joined the board to have a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
So I would encourage you to think about members and listen carefully and it was really helpful for me in terms of getting the history of the board and sort of how we got to where we are today.
Okay, thank you. Ruby.
I just wanted to, this seemed like a good moment to alert everyone that the VSBA has forums and webinars for new board members. There was actually a new member forum in March that I showed up to thinking, well, if one of our new board members shows up, I don't want them to be completely alone. And there were only 3 people there, but it was like the day after everybody's like town meetings or something. It wasn't very realistic, but there is one in April. So if you, as new board members, are not yet on the VSBA mailing list, I don't know how you get on the maybe Mo adds things, but there's a weekly update that has a snapshot of upcoming webinars and events. And there is a forum, I think, on the 16th of April. They are really helpful because you're seeing what's going on in other parts of the state, which is fascinating to see how other school districts do things. And sometimes it's really affirming, and sometimes it's like, we have a lot of work to do. So I would just encourage people to do that.
And even when it's like, I get it, you're repeating yourself. I found it very useful. I found the repetition very useful. I really do recommend these trainings. Some of them are webinars, some of them are Zoom forums, right, with interaction. Yeah. So I presume you've all gotten this book. You've gotten this book, The Essential Work of Vermont School Boards. You have not received that yet. Ah, okay. Okay. I heard they will. Ooh, they will. And it's gives a history of Vermont education, as well as what the board's role is, and what the superintendent's role is, and how we work together. I found it very useful. My tabs are still very current in this book. I thought you had received it already. That will come from the central office, from Mo Hart.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just going to add, so we
Yes.
are official members of the VSBA, which is great, provides many resources to us. And these are onboarding resources. I think Mo referred to them when you stop by the office of a previous version. So updates will be forthcoming, and you should be receiving VSBA weekly emails. If you haven't already, you should be receiving those soon. And then this past fall, a good sized group of us attended a multi-day fall conference up north in Vermont. And there are conferences throughout the school year, which provide great opportunities for professional development and just making connections with other school board members throughout the state. So very proud to be a part of it. And I think they've served us well, especially in this last year and a half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was a great conference. We really did like it. And by the way, regarding that conference, they moved the business section when I was in collapse after that meeting. It's like 2.5 hours and right in the middle of a very busy day. They moved it to a Zoom session on a different day. So yes, which is a great thing. Eva.
I have a comment about April. And I could be wrong. It looks like we're going to be having school board meeting during April vacation.
So I'm going to go to that right now. That's exactly where I'm going. And that is the next thing on my list. And it's the meeting schedule in April. And so going to Eva's point, we have our next board meeting after tonight is April 9, the second Tuesday of the month. And the subsequent board meeting would be April 23rd. April 23rd is the second day, or maybe the fourth day, of your spring break as administrators, as teachers. And we would typically not meet at that time. So Mark and I had a conversation before this meeting, looking at this schedule. And I want to propose, certainly the April 9th meeting is on the books. I want to propose April 16 as a meeting time. That would be 2 weeks in a row. And that would enable us to have 2 meetings in April. If we do not do April 16 and we do April 9, the next meeting is May 14. So we would be going from the 9th to the 14th, which is a huge leap. And we have a lot of business to accomplish. I would hate to lose a meeting. Tim.
I fully endorse Mark's suggestion for April 16th. We have so much to do, so much work to do, that if we miss one meeting, the next meeting is going to be one of those 4 or 5 hour marathons.
Yeah. I am very nervous about that. Ruby.
I have a conflict on the 16th, and for that reason, I would ask if we would consider the 30th. The month of April is one of those months that has 5 weeks in it. So if we do, if we move to have the 9th and then the 16th, we have 3 weeks of nothing. And then we have a meeting. But if we move to the 30th, it's a little bit more balanced a month.
I have one other proposal. So if you're gonna do a meeting, I know we have hybrid option, but maybe it would be, since it's like an off schedule day, maybe people being able to attend on Zoom would be easier.
You can always attend on Zoom. Right. So I'm going to opt for the usual, that we meet in person. I think meeting in person is great. And the reason I'm having this discussion now is for people to look at their calendars and get this on their calendar. Okay. You can always Zoom. Okay. All right. I think we will have plenty of Zoom sessions on other issues as well. Yes, Brian.
Just wanted to support what Ruby said for the same reasons, but I don't have the same conflict that you do. But I will be out of town that day. And
On the 6th.
Yeah, out of the country, in fact. So it'll be easier for me to go to the 30th and then do that.
I think the 30th sounds great. Thank you. I don't know why I couldn't see that. It's because I can't count for open meeting law as well. Yes.
You have a motion to meet on the 30th?
Sure. Would you like to frame a motion,
Move
Matt?
that we shift the April 23rd meeting to April 30th, same time.
Okay, we got a second from Kim. Thank you. Discussion. Yes. Right.
If that's the 2nd in April, would that also be at a school site? Following Cusick school site, I was just updating a calendar.
On the 30th. So you're asking whether it would be at Cusick, at the Cusick room?
It would be on the cycle, it would be a school site.
It would be a school site. Okay.
Just TBD, but just something to note.
Right.
I think just keep it at Cusick.
Cusick. Okay. It looks like we're going to meet at Cusick for the 30th. And certainly there'll be confirmations going around. I think as we shift gears and go to different sites, we have got to send out reminders. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Before we move on to student matters, I just want to acknowledge, I'm going back a little bit to Leadership Council. Yes.
In order.
Yes.
You need a vote on my motion.
Open meeting law and voting. Yes, thank you very much. So we had a motion and it was seconded. And so I would like to hear the motion again, please.
I move that we shift the April 23rd board meeting to April 30th at the same time in the Cusick room.
It was seconded by Kim. I opened it up for discussion. All those in, is there any more discussion? All those in favor of the motion as stated by Matt Shibley, having to do with a board meeting on April 30th in the Cusick room, which is in substitution for the 23rd. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That's great. Thank you very much. Before I move on to student matters, I just want to take a step back and mention something about the Dummerston Leadership Council, which has decided to send a representative member to every board meeting. In this way, the Leadership Council can be more engaged in the process and the direction of board meetings. In addition, when the board representative reports to the Leadership Council, there is someone else present who was at the board meetings, to enable crosstalk and really get a fuller picture of board and leadership council engagement. So I just want to present that. I know Dummerston has I forgot the technology, but they have a sign-up sheet going for every meeting. I think it's great. So leadership councils function in very different ways, and I just want to present that. We are moving on. It is 7:25, and we are moving on to student matters. Approximately 5 minutes for that. So if there are any students present, please raise your hand.
I believe Laura has logged in.
Okay, thank you. Again, if there are any students present who would like to offer comment, I'm looking online right now, having to do with board issues or academic issues or issues going on in school. All right. Once again, thank you. Thank you.
Can I comment on something?
Absolutely, Hannah. Thank
Just so
you.
you know, I did see Laura in school today and she was commenting how hard it is when we do offsite meetings. And so for the student reps, it's really challenging for them to be here. She was really excited about seeing everyone tonight at the Cusick room. And I'm like, no, we're at Academy. So she's like, oh, I can't go.
Okay, wait 1 second. I actually emailed both a couple days ago to say we're meeting here.
Yeah.
Not in Cusick. But again, that is indicative of one of the issues in the downside of moving as we consider pros and cons about moving from site to site. And I do think we, at some point in the very near future, that has to be on our agenda to consider the pros and cons of that. All right. So I'm sorry that the students cannot be present. I think if we do have student reps, not if, but we have student reps on this board and they have a voice and we have to be considerate of their travel issues. Okay. Thank you. I saw a hand. No. Okay.
I'm really sorry. I have to go hand these to Matt because he gave me this.
And that's
so he can pass them around here.
Oh my goodness. Well, with that in mind, I would like to take a 5-minute stretch break. We're pushing 7:30. And so let's come together at 7:35 and we will begin promptly with the administrative report. Okay? 7:35. We have come back to order and it is 7:35 and we are going to begin with the administrative report.
Okay, get right to it. Some brief updates really for tonight. Last Wednesday morning after our town meeting, we had a little excitement in a central office as a carbon monoxide leak was detected early in the morning. So we essentially cleared the building, engaged in a remote day of work. We had a great response from local fire department and had our furnace re-cleaned. There had been kind of a human error in a clean job where some bolts weren't totally tightened, which led to the leak. We've since had the assistant fire chief at the building today, doing a full tour of the building. We've purchased additional detectors, which we have up and running. But if you stop by central office on Wednesday, blank parking lot, it was kind of weird, eerie. But that was the reason we were back up and running Thursday morning. Another update, I emailed the board this afternoon some resources that Ben Lord, our science coach, has put together for viewing the eclipse. And these resources are specific to students, but I think actually adults as well. So that resource is just shared with you as an FYI, and I would encourage you to maybe even engage in some of the activities. We have purchased eclipse glasses for all students and staff in the SU, including all board members. So tonight, every board member received a gift of eclipse glasses. So you're all prepared for April 8th. It is an early release day on April 8th.
Anne is ready.
So the intention is that we will get all children home before the eclipse starts. And we will provide resources not only to teachers, which have been provided, but also to go home with families. We have been engaged in climate survey work with our students. So we just completed the Panorama Student Climate Survey. Results have essentially come in, and leadership teams at each school site are being put together to analyze those surveys, develop reports, and to engage with each individual school staff in what the results are telling us. And then that would spearhead goal setting for future CIP plans. As noted on, I brought copies of the board calendar, presentation calendar that was developed at the admin board retreat last June. And as you can see, what we've done is we've planned out presentations for a full school year. So this schedule did take into consideration that we would continue with the second and fourth Tuesday at 6 p.m. So I'm glad we're continuing with that. April 9th, we're scheduled to deliver a presentation around wraparound supports for schools and how we encourage more family engagement. There's not a report scheduled for the 30th, as that meeting was added tonight, but the first meeting in May, we will be coming to the board with a formal presentation of our climate survey results and how they relate to our current CIP plan and what that means for next steps in terms of moving forward and how we collectively develop goals this June for our new CIP plan. Last update is we are engaged in interviewing for the 2 curriculum coordinator positions. We had interviews today for our pre-K through 6 position. We have interviews at the end of the week and beginning of next week to continue with the pre-K through 6, as well as the focus 7 through 12 interviews. So the hope, if it all goes well, is we'll have identified 2 ideal candidates by the first week in April, potentially the second week, that we can be bringing forward at a future SU meeting, because those would be SU positions. So that's the general update for tonight. I will just share that, as you all know, new board members may not know, all of the presentations we've given throughout the school year are archived on the SU website. So if you go to the school board section, and then down at the bottom, there's school reports. All of these presentations that are reflected in this calendar so far that we've completed are right there on the website for review. So that's something we started this year. Just felt like it's really important to archive that work and reference it as we move forward to develop goals. So that's the update for tonight.
Jim?
The climate surveys are one of the few measurable data sources that the board has to
Yeah, we can share the survey results before the May meeting. But the May meeting is when we'll be prepared to formally kind of share our analysis.
Yeah, I'm just asking.
But yes, we can share those ahead of time for your own analysis.
Good.
Yep.
Thanks.
I think that's a great idea. It gives us a chance to sort of mull it over in confusion, perhaps, right? Which is okay, just to formulate our questions. Okay, thank you. Julianne.
New hires, Mark?
And before we move from the calendar, just so everyone knows, the next meeting on the 9th is in the Cusick Room of the Regional Center. And then when we go to the 30th of April, it's in the Cusick Room at the 30th, right, but I'm just saying, it's the Cusick Room of the Regional Center. And then again on the 14th of May, the Cusick Room of the Regional Center. So
I don't know what that is.
I realize
Saying the same thing over and over again doesn't make me know what it is anymore.
I appreciate that. And my emphasis was not with that in mind, but rather just for you to note that we're meeting at the next 3 meetings will be in one location. It's called Cusick, Cusick, and we will help you find it.
It's at the high school.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I can give you the exact directions.
Yes, because I must say, if it's at the high school campus, that still befuddles me. It's a huge complex that sort of wraps around, but we'll get you there. Okay, great. Thank you. Any other hands? Good. Okay.
Okay, new hires.
New hires.
Dummerston School is recommending Ashley Perkins for the 2nd grade teacher position. Guilford Central School is recommending Catherine Cassidy for position of 5th grade teacher. Hannah Parker is recommending Christopher Brewer to continue as Dean of Students. As you know, he's been on an interim contract. And then at Putney Central, we have the hires of Laura Casey and Maureen Ward, who will continue at Putney Central.
Did you have mine?
Okay.
You want to answer yourself?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I have Tess Peterson for an 80% academic support position.
Okay, and that's at Academy.
Yeah,
at Academy. All right. Thank you, Mark. And so I'm not sure I have all the names, but we begin with Ashley Perkins. We begin and then followed by Cassidy. Is that correct? Catherine Cassidy, thank you very much.
Tracy Gazera.
Thank you. Chris Brewer, Laura Casey, Maureen Ward, and Tess Peterson. Is there a motion to approve their hiring?
So moved.
Thank you. Second? Second. Any discussion? Discussion? Yes.
Is the hiring for the Dummerston position, hiring somebody that's on a temporary and just moving to permanent, or is it helping to fill a vacant position?
Yes, I have a 2nd grade teacher retiring. So this is the person who's replacing her for next year.
Oh.
Yeah.
But still the same number of open positions exist. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Yeah. Ruby.
This is a question for Hannah at BUHS. This is, I think, an adjacent question. So Chris is moving from interim to this is a permanent position. Are how many other in the leadership team? How many other interim positions are there, just so
The
that?
only other interim left is Tracy Lane, who was covering for 2 years while Chris Day was on leave. So after Chris, we're down to one.
Yeah.
Most of us know Chris Brewer. I think it's great that he's continuing. So thank you, Chris, for applying, and congratulations to all of us.
I will share that I wanted 2 students on the interview committee, and it was next to impossible to find 2 students in the building that didn't already have a really strong relationship with him. But I found them. It just took me 3 days.
Well, now.
Yeah, exactly. They did.
You think of the turmoil and the leadership positions at the high school over the last 3 years, things are falling into place. So it's really nice.
I do have one for
Eva?
for Kelly. Is this a new position or is this one that was?
No, this is also a retirement.
This is a top.
Yeah.
Any other discussion about these hires? So we have a motion on the floor that has been seconded. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Okay, are there any nays or abstentions? All right, thank you very much. Welcome to everyone. Thank you, Mark.
you.
Are there any other announcements?
Nope. And we don't have a fiscal report tonight.
And we do not have a fiscal report. And all right, so now we are up to the consent agenda. And it is now 7:50. Okay, clerk's report. Approval of minutes from March 12. Approval of minutes from March 12.
I move we accept the minutes of March 12th, 2024.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Okay, thank you, Kim, and thank you, Matt. Any discussion about the minutes? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any abstentions or nays? Okay, Colleen Savage abstains. Do I need to do a roll call?
I think so.
Yeah, I need to do a roll call. Got it. Okay, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. No. So this has to do with the minutes. Ann Beekman.
Aye.
Aye. Tim.
Aye.
Ruby.
Aye.
Sean.
Aye.
Eva.
Aye.
Tim.
Aye.
Brian.
Aye.
Colleen.
Abstain.
Abstain. Matt.
Aye.
And Deborah is an aye. Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you very much. All right. Moving right along to new business, EES. Approval needed for submission of Head Start refunding application.
Yes.
Dead gas.
So just a quick 2-minute tutorial for the new board members. Early Education Services is under the arm of the Windham Southeast School District. We are your local Head Start and Early Head Start program. We're also a designated Vermont Child Center. So the structure that we have is really kind of like what we have here, in that you heard earlier, we have Policy Council, which is like the Parent Leadership Council. And the governance structure is such that they approve certain things first and then they come to the board. And so in the case of what I'm about to present, Policy Council actually did meet on this past Friday, and they approved the submission of our annual refunding application, which is what I'm here to ask you to do tonight. You have more than enough information in front of you. I left packets for all of you, and I won't take the time to go through all of these, but I wanted you to have the information about what leads to the actual submission of our application. And it starts with our strategic plan, which is pretty dense. I'm more than happy to go through this with you at some other time or answer questions if you want to this evening. The strategic plan is a rolling document. And every year in the spring, we conduct a program self-assessment. Every 3 or 4 years, we do a parent-child center self-assessment as well. So we blend the two. And the self-assessment is, I'm opening this invitation to all of you. It's scheduled for May, and I don't have the date in front of me right now, but it's a day-long event where we invite all of our constituents, any interested community members, and it is a staff in-service day. Ruby was with us last year, and we take the day to really do an assessment of our program. We have guided questions, we look at data, and we determine what the goals should be for the following year. And from that, we design or update our strategic plan. So this one really was being updated as recently as last night. So things move constantly and we try to reflect that. And then from the strategic plan, we put together our annual refunding application. And the tenets of the application are here for you in the black and white packet. This is actually a copy of the PowerPoint presentation that our fiscal manager presented to Policy Council on Friday. It tells, it informs you about what areas are covered in the application. We have on the first page, she talks about some of the highlights, and one of them you all know was supported with the change of scope application that we actually were awarded and implemented in November, which right-sized the program in that we were able to close classrooms that had been under-enrolled and understaffed since the pandemic. And then from those cost savings from the staff vacancies, we redirected those funds into higher teacher salaries and salaries overall for employees in an effort to stabilize the program. When we've done that, we actually, I think, we might have had one person leave since that time, and this was, for personal reasons. And in terms of enrollment, we have been 100% enrolled for 3 consecutive months. So that's amazing. And so all of those pieces are already approved by the Federal Office of Head Start and included in the application. Wendy, our fiscal person, also gave you some comparative information that you can look at when we're looking at budget amounts from last year to this year. You'll see that we actually had more money in the budget last year than we did this year. That's because we had carryover funds from the previous year for all of those unfilled staff positions. So I am here tonight to ask for your approval to submit our Head Start / Early Head Start budget application for the period that begins July 1st and runs through June 30th of 2025 in the amount of $3,404,917.
Do I hear a motion supporting that?
I would like to move that the WSESD board approve the amount of $3,404,917, which is the amount required to complete the work of the EES service.
Second. Thank you, Sean, for the motion and Ann for the second. Discussion? Tim?
You have a wait list?
Do we have a what?
A wait list?
Oh, do we have a wait list? We currently do not have a wait list. I will tell you that we are opening, I should have mentioned this earlier, a new partnership in Wilmington at the old school and community enrichment center, where we actually have our new satellite parent-child classroom that we've made into a meeting space. And in that building, there is a preschool program, children's education program that includes preschool called Beaver Brook Preschool. And we will be opening a new partnership with that agency in the fall. We're going to start small with 2 children, but they have a wait list. And that is an area, the Deerfield Valley area is one that we have been trying to provide classroom-based services for as long as I've been here. So this is pretty exciting. There's a need there and there's a wait list there.
Then I also just want to note the father engagement program sounds really worthwhile, engaging. I mean, worthwhile. So.
Thank you. And we are, fingers crossed, we have a person who's been able to give us 10 hours a week for a number of years. And we really wanted to enrich that. And so we were able to find funds to add more hours to the position. And we are currently in conversations with a potential candidate for that.
Other discussion? So motion seconded, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstaining? Thank you, Deb Gass, thank you very much. And under new business, Guilford Central School Leadership Council members, Guilford.
Yes, and I also have one addition for Academy School as well, but we'll start with Guilford. Membership for Jamie Durham, Sarah Rosso, Caitlin Person, Christy LaRock, Jocelyn McIntyre, Josh Nelson, and Tasha Tillman. And then for
So let me do this first. Is there a motion in support of these new additions to the Leadership Council?
So moved.
Second, Kim. So thank you, Sean, for the motion. Kim for the second. Any discussion?
I attended sort of a meeting at the Guilford Central School a couple of weeks ago, and all the individuals that were just mentioned were there. And it seems really, really positive. There's a lot of good energy at the Guilford School right now there always is, but to move things forward with the Leadership Council. So it'll be fun for Brian to be there.
Question.
And I'll probably go too.
I think this is great that Guilford is up and running with a Leadership Council. That's great. Tim?
Are these the same people that are on the PTO?
I don't have the answer to that, Tim.
You don't know?
I think they are. Yeah. Yep. Or at least there are people that are very involved with the programs and all the information at the Guilford School. So they're highly involved individuals.
Thank you. There is a motion. It's been seconded. Any further discussion? Thank you. All those in favor of the motion as presented by Mark, or rather presented by Sean, having to do with Guilford Central Leadership Council. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Thank you. Mark.
Okay, Academy School, Robin Morgan, to present her to rejoin Leadership Council in a new role as a parent.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Kim. Any discussion? Okay, thank you. So, the motion is for Robin Morgan to join Academy Leadership Council. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Thank you. Thank you. Ruby,
I have a question related to leadership councils. Mark, could you tell us what, if there was a plan for a coming together meeting? Could you tell us about that?
So we're gonna be putting out an email invitation, probably to Leadership Council Chair folks, for an orientation to occur ideally by the end of March, maybe more likely first week of April. So email should be going out by the end of this week. Yep.
so we would love to hear an update on how that summit goes. I presume I could call it a summit or, right?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other concerns or issues before this board this evening?
Madam Chair, there being no further business before this board, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
There is a motion that we adjourn. Thank you, Anne, seconded by Kim. Is there any discussion? No. I saw that. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays or abstentions? Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.